What's up, Diablo 4 players? So let's get into it. What is the best class to start in Season 4? And the reason why it's important to go ahead and mention at the start is because every single class is going to get some bonus rewards, and you're going to be getting aspects to build your character a lot faster than you normally would. If you've played Diablo 3, think of it kind of like the Hadrig's gift to give you a full set for free. And instead of a set, because we don't have sets in Diablo 4, you get all of the aspects. So this will basically guarantee the ability to kind of get a bunch of power earlier on. So this is what you're going to be getting for every single class. The Barbarian gets the Dust Devils, the Rogue gets Barrage, the Necromancer gets a Minion army, and the Druid gets Pulverize, and the Sorceress gets Incinerate. So let's go ahead and talk about each one and kind of decide for you which one is maybe the best starter. And while I would say that there is definitely a tier list and winners and losers with this, I want to make this video more about like the start and going over what you're getting at the start, because there are ones that are definitely better. And if you guys do want that tier list for the end game, I will also link that down below, but this is mainly focusing in at the start of the season, which one is kind of the better ones to start off with. Because you get these aspects for free, it's kind of a guaranteed way to get some extra power. So starting right off, you guys are seeing gameplay of the Dust Devil Barbarian. There's actually two different ways to play this build, as you can play this with Double Swing, or you can actually play this with Whirlwind. At the end of the day, the Dust Devils are little tornadoes that shoot out, and I'll give you guys some like Whirlwind gameplay over here. All the footage, by the way, that you guys are going to be seeing is from the PTR, so things, of course, are subject to change. But this did take a small nerf. You can only have up to 15 tornadoes up at once, but there is a small amount of a buff to the damage that it does deal. But for the most part, it is still one of the most powerful builds in the game. And if I was to rank this on a tier list, I would easily put the Barbarians start at an A tier. They're actually really good. I mean, you could just get Thorns earlier on. You can get a huge amount of damage, but specifically once you get those aspects, you're just going to be flowing by content, especially if you want to play Whirlwind. Keep in mind, Whirlwind does not deal damage at all for the most part. I mean, it does such a small amount of damage. You're basically using it to proc bleed, and if you want to, you can run the brand new Gore's Devastating Grips to give Whirlwind itself a little bit more damage, but it does not hit for nearly as hard as the Double Swing Barbarian. So keep that in mind. But for the most part, the Dust Devils, again, are going to be your main source of damage. But again, a solid A tier build for Barbarian is the Dust Devils. Now, if you really want to push further, you could run the Bash Barbarian, which is going to be stronger in the more further down the line endgame, but Dust Devils is still going to be probably one of the most popular builds in the game for this season if you are a Barbarian player. Very, very solid build overall. Next up, though, I want to go ahead and go to the Druid. Now, interestingly enough, the Druid actually got Pulverize. Now, Pulverize is excellent. This footage, by the way, is from a previous season, as there's not really anything that changed here. It's a very beginner-friendly build because all you do is you slam Pulverize again and again, and this is a Sigil 100. But it's a very, very easy build to play, as, well, you can just, throw up your ulti and just kind of slam down, and it's relatively beginner-friendly as it has pretty good HP, because just that's how Werebear is. So if I was to put this anywhere, as long as you get the Shockwave, which basically lets Pulverize kind of go in a line, you're going to be good to go. It's a very, very, again, beginner-friendly. If your brother maybe wants to try out the game for the first time, or your girlfriend, or a little sibling, this is a pretty easy build, although it is definitely outclassed by the Necromancer by, a long shot. Like, Necromancer is just way better. If you want, like, the easiest build for someone that's brand new to Diablo, that's what I would recommend. But if I was to put this anywhere, once you start getting the aspects for a Werebear, I mean, it's basically all you need is just the Shockwave. It's easily like in the B tier. In the earlier stages up until World Tier like 4, most of the stuff will just like get deleted, and it feels very, very nice. And it is objectively slower than, let's say, the Barbarian, because you can get like natural movement speed much easier, whereas you'd have to play Werewolf to get the extra bonus in movement speed. So I would say anywhere from like C to B tier would be appropriate for the Druid as far as the start of the season. And that's because, well, it just doesn't have the mobility that the other classes have. And the damage is still very respectable, though. I mean, most of the stuff, with the exception of the bosses, again, you'll just start deleting them very, very fast. Now, next up, I have some newer gameplay of the Rapid Fire Rogue, and it's very similar to Barrage, although this is using the Scoundrels Kiss. But as far as Rogue goes with Barrage, I mean, it's the same playstyle. It's kind of like a ranged playstyle, and most of the stuff can actually transition, as you will be getting some of the newer things like more imbues. Also, you can look at Marksman Crit. So if some of those do roll on the aspects at the start of the season, it's pretty good. I think that Rogue is one of the fastest classes in the game. I'm talking about just natural mobility and movement speed and having dash and the ability to break CC. I like Rogue a lot. I think Rogue is easily in like the C to B tier for the start. Again, you'll be getting Barrage, and Barrage can actually ricochet, similar to how the Rapid Fire can ricochet, although I know this one is kind of different. This is just kind of what you'd want to transition into, but for the most part, Rogue is still a very fast class, again, overall in terms of like what the class can do. So that's where I would say that Rogue lies as far as the start of the season. Now, next up, moving into what I consider one of the best starters over here, and this is the Season 4 Summoner Necromancer. So this class has the craziest damage. If damage is your thing, or if you want the easiest, chillest build, Necromancer is going to be one of the best classes to start. And that is because, well, the minions just do crazy amounts of damage. And even though they have crazy amounts of damage, the one thing that holds a Necromancer back from like putting it on the absolute super uber S tier is they just don't have mobility. There's no ability for you just to move faster. They have added some stuff to give them more passive extra movement speed, but again, it's miles behind the other classes because you can just teleport through a wall with the Sorceress, right? And you can't necessarily do that with the Necromancer. But if I was to really gauge this, it's anywhere from like A to S tier. This is probably one of the best builds, though, at the start. And the reason why is because Necromancer minions just start scaling like crazy because they have 100% of your stats. Previously, how it worked is you would only have 10% of your stats from yourself added to your minions. But now at 100%, that's crazy. Going from 10% to 100 is super strong. And if any of you guys have played Diablo 4, you guys know that nerfs do happen. And I want to say, if you want to feel incredibly powerful, Necromancer this season is probably my highest recommendation for either a casual or someone that does want to put some good time into the game. Now, if you really want to make min-max super hard, the Frosty Strides Sorceress is probably going to be the fastest build in the game, but it does require you to get a lot of stuff, and it is kind of a midlife build because it's not technically low life. You have to have 85% or under for HP for it to work, and a lot of people don't like those builds. It's going to be like a top 1% build. But the Necromancer is going to be super, super powerful, and they've buffed the Ring of Menelin, and it's very good, and it transitions quite well into a lot of different things, whether you want to play Bone Spear, or if you want to do any Corpse Explosion like Black River build later in the game for some automation and just, again, crazy amounts of damage. If you guys haven't seen my build guide, that we can kill the brand new reworked Urulith in literally like 1 second. The Necromancer build is absolute for you, and if you have like a sibling, like a little brother or a girlfriend, or again, anyone that has not played Diablo and they want to hop into Diablo for the first time and play with you, and they have no idea what they want to play, tell them to play this build because they will help you more with this build than any other build. Previously, I would have said Druid is the best beginner-friendly build with Pulverize, but this one wins by a long shot because it is so dang easy to play because the minions, they just attack on their own. All you need to do is get a couple aspects, which, again, at the start of the season, they're going to be giving you those aspects as your seasonal journey goes on. Then next, we actually have to move into something that I actually just want to have the better gameplay, which is the Frozen Orb Sorceress right here. But I'll also show you guys what you're going to be getting at the start. So the Frozen Orb Sorceress is going to be the build for the Sorceresses for, I would say, majority of the player base, and I'll show you guys kind of what that looks like. So basically, you throw frozen orbs, and your frozen orbs spawn in these other things that will shoot out more frozen orbs. That's the build that you want to play, or the Frosty Strides. But what did they give us at the start? Well, they gave us Incinerate. Now, I have uploaded a video on Incinerate. I didn't even bother showing off the new Incinerate because it's so bad. This is what I would put in like the D tier. So Necromancer, easily A or S tier. This was a meme build that I made where you get to helicopter around with the Sorceress here. And it was a really fun build, but Incinerate is objectively one of the worst builds in the game for the starter. If anyone is making a tier list as far as the start of the season, what's the best class to play, they have to put this one on the lowest. And if not, unsubscribe from Jokes aside, though, the reason why it's so bad is Incinerate has to ramp up for damage. And what they did get was basically this triple Incinerate thing where you get to shoot out 3, like this picture over here, where you can see them shooting out 3 Incinerates. And if you're wondering, can you hit the same target with 3 Incinerates all stacked up on top of each other? The answer is yes, but it's very, very hard to do. And how Incinerate works is the damage ramps up over time. And if you play Diablo, you don't want to be holding still. there's going to be these giant explosions that go off, or you're going to have to dodge something, otherwise you're going to be frozen, stunned, feared, whatever. And that is one of the most annoying things for this game, is to lose control over your character. And it's super not beginner friendly to go ahead and play. And while the Sorceress does have good builds in the later stages of the game, objectively, it has to be the worst one in terms of the start of the season. And so let's go ahead and do a quick little recap over here. So some of the best ones I could recommend, easily Necromancer and Barbarian are great starters. And then I would say the Barrage Rogue and the Druid kind of towards maybe the top or the middle-ish, and then Sorceress objectively in the worst category. Again, this is at the start of the season. If you guys want the endgame tier list, I'm going to go ahead and actually link it down below. But that's my thoughts. You guys can let me know yours down below. And the real question is, what are you guys going to be starting in Season 4? But if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new here, if you want to see more updates for Diablo and other action RPGs and games. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Also check the pinned comment if you want builds. Peace out.